fabrication of the left. But what isn't a fabrication is an all-out war on coal by the Obama administration, conveniently, that coincides with the agenda of radical environmentalist groups. In a series of reports by Lachlan Marquet of the Washington Free Beacon, who happens to be sitting right here next to me today, he found emails obtained through a FOIA request that revealed extensive collaboration between top officials at the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and groups like the Sierra Club, the National Resource Defense Council, and the Environmental Defense Fund, all in an effort to coordinate messaging, get signatures for petitions, and pressure the fossil fuel industry, particularly coal. In one example, a regional public affairs officer for the EPA sent an email to the New Hampshire chapter of the Sierra Club. It said, if you could, it would be great if you can send me an email describing what you would like to do in early April in New Hampshire. That way, I can coordinate messaging with our air offices here and at HQ. But it doesn't end there. The Free Beacon article cites several more examples of direct collusion between the EPA and environmental groups that made their way into a Senate Environment and Public Works Committee hearing yesterday, where current EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy was questioned pretty harshly about the revelations.
Is this the standard practice of the EPA to work with environmental groups to coordinate on getting comment signers that are favorable to your proposed policies?
It is very common practice for EPA to meet with a variety of stakeholders. Our agendas and our meetings are public.
Lachlan, can you elaborate a little bit on that? First of all, she said, I don't really know. She denied having any knowledge of this collaboration. A specific event was with one of her deputy administrators coordinating with some of these radical environmental groups about rulemaking and getting signatures.
Right. So the specific email that Barasa was referring to there was it was sent to a deputy EPA administrator and basically said, it laid out the agenda for the meeting that he was holding with 24 of these major environmental groups. And basically the explicit purpose of the meeting was to get, was to sort of help them sign up more people to comment on agency rulemaking, specifically the rule that, as you mentioned, is going to sort of decimate the coal industry by limiting their emission standards. It's a pretty blatant case of EPA sort of teaming up with some of the more radical groups on this issue. EPA claims their goal is not to put coal plants out of business, but all these groups, that's overtly their goal.
Right.
And so that was really the reason.
And part of that process is, many people don't know that when agencies put out regulations or rules like this, you have a comment period where the public is permitted to comment, and these agencies are supposed to take those comments into account when they decide if they're going to move forward or tweak a certain
Right. And these groups will send emails to their supporters saying, click here to sign your name on this petition.
So it gives these agencies, these radical lefty groups an opportunity to kind of stack the deck as far as their opinions, because these comments are made public, right?
And make it look like there's widespread public support for the sort of rule.
But speaking of public meetings, it was also revealed in these emails that there were discussions about the potential locations of public hearings on a proposed EPA emissions rule that could effectively block the construction of new coal-fired power plants. A Sierra Club employee sent a list to the EPA of their preferred locations to hold these hearings, and it didn't include anywhere in coal country. It listed places like San Francisco and Washington and Denver, which is where it ended up. But why is this significant? Because the EPA has been issuing regulations at a record pace that's decimating the coal industry. Fox News reported this week that coal mining in areas like eastern Kentucky and coal mining areas like that, they've lost 6,000 jobs since January 2012, mainly because of newly imposed EPA regulations. For each mining job, it's estimated at least 3 directly related jobs like trucking, they also disappear. Speaking at an energy forum in Washington this week, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat, said this about the ongoing battle with the EPA. He said, they're putting in targets that are unobtainable. To do what they're doing is wrong. I've often said West Virginia should just turn the switch off and see how the East Coast likes it. Maybe it would bring them back to their senses. So guys, I look at this and it reminds me of during 2008, candidate Obama said, hey, yeah, if they want to build more coal plants, sure, they can do it, but it'll bankrupt them because of all the fines and fees they'll pay because of greenhouse emissions. It seems like it's right on agenda.
No, that's exactly what Mitt Romney said in 2012, that Obama was waging a war on coal. And this goes beyond just, talking points in politics. This is people's lives. We're talking about people's jobs here, their livelihood to, work in the coal industry. I mean, it's really unfortunate that they're playing politics with this. It's the same agency that, paid $1 million to to a guy who claimed that he was a double agent. And
For 6
you know,
months, he didn't show up for